the XFL looming on its technically second season after nearly 20 years, I thought it'd be kind of fitting to, talk about another XFL. The XFL that played games in the fall. Another league with massive promises, but even bigger failures. This is the Fall Experimental Football League. The FXFL played 2 seasons in 2014 and 2015. There was actually supposed to be 5 teams, but as you can see here, there was only 4 that played in 2014. It was going to be the Boston Brawlers, Brooklyn Bolts, Florida Blacktips, and the Omaha Mammoths, not the Mammoths of Omaha. There actually was supposed to be a 5th team, like I said. It was supposed to be played in Texas, but for some reason, Texas was the only team to not play, but they were supposed to be coming in 2015. So, who made up the 4 teams that were supposed to play in 2014? Well, they are actually comprised of players that were cut from NFL, CFL, AFL, and other leagues that played on the indoor circuit that had either not signed contracts yet or had been cut. As previously mentioned, the games were played alongside the NFL during the fall season. Games were played primarily on Wednesday nights on the first season. That's really not overlap with the NFL, college, or even high school games, which, if they played in Texas, that would have been a very, very large problem. That was what they were trying to figure out for the next season. Games were streamed on ESPN3 for free if you had the subscription. The games were sponsored by actually a very large sponsor in Nivea. So all the pre-game stuff and the post-game stuff, all brought to you by Nivea. What was the goal of the XFL? And as you can see, the FXFL, it's going to take me a while to get it across, wasn't to compete with the NFL or college football in terms of ratings, or even just to be on the same level as the NFL, probably even closer to compete with the CFL on a level where they tend to take lower players and make them better. But it actually wanted to be more of a NBA G League, or what NFL Europe used to be. It wanted to be a feeder league in itself, but as you can see, we're not talking about the FXFL anymore. And we'll figure out why in a little bit. So what put the X in the FXFL? Well, it was a couple of the rules that they put in. They wanted to implement rules that haven't been seen at some of the top levels of play yet. For one, PATs were actually pushed to the 35 yards out, which in some way was adopted by both the NFL and CFL. Was it because of the FXFL? Who really knows? Kickoffs were taken from the 25-yard line to minimize touchbacks and placed 8 players on the receiving team in between the kicking teams 35 and 45 to lower those high-impact collisions, which have drastically hurt the sport in the media lately. Another rule that they implemented was the cut block. The cut block is illegal in the FXFL, which is, as you can see in the right picture, was blocking at the knees. And all rostered players had to play in the game. It's a little weird how certain things worked. Like QBs didn't actually have to play, if the backups, but mostly all the other guys had to play. So, you heard the names, but who are these teams? In 2014, we had 4 of them, as you heard: Omaha, Brooklyn, Boston, and Florida. First, we're going to take a look at Omaha. The Omaha Mammoths were founded in 2014, and they played in TD Ameritrade Park, home of the college baseball powerhouse Creighton Blue Jays, and the defunct UFL Omaha Nighthawks. They totaled reportedly 6,500 people attended the game over the season. Next, we have the Brooklyn Bolts. Brooklyn Bolts were played 2014-2015. Keep an eye on that. They played at MCU Park, home of the New York Penn League Brooklyn Cyclones, who actually are going to be going to the Eastern League in baseball very soon. They had a reported attendance of 8,893 over the season, and they are the two-time FXFL champions, with quotation marks. Next, we have the Boston Brawlers. They played in 2014. They played at Harvard Stadium, home of, let's guess, if you guess anywhere but Harvard, we have an issue. They played 2 home games, one in front of 500 fans, and the second, it's not reported. I wonder why. As you can see in the picture, not many people showed up. They intended to come back and play in Ohio, but told the baseball teams who leased them the field they would not return only a week before kickoff of the second season. Fun fact, Taj Boyd, the Clemson quarterback, actually played for them. Next up, we have the ill-fated Florida Black Tips. Florida Black Tips played 2014 and 2015. They were a traveling team. As you can see, they were supposed to play at FIU Stadium, but lease agreements fell through, and they became a traveling team. The team was basically just filled with just a rotating roster. They never actually had a legit roster, and that became an issue. They were basically just the filler team needed for anybody to play. Players were also actually signed for a whole lot less than the league minimum. Players were signed for about $300, but the league minimum was about $1,000 a game. Actually, as we had talked about with the Boston Brawlers, Florida had originally signed Taj Boyd, but when everything fell through with the stadium, he moved to Boston. So, the 2014 season started on October 8th, exactly how it was planned, with Boston traveling all the way to Omaha to get crushed, absolutely crushed by the Mammoth, 41-18, in front of a massive, raucous crowd of 3,000 fans. Allegedly. Games ran for the most part on schedule until about November 7th. That's when cracks started to come out. The following week was supposed to be the championship game between the 4-0 Brooklyn Bolts and the 3-1 Omaha Mammoth. The league actually canceled the game and awarded Brooklyn the championship. Sounds like another league. Quickly after the 2014 season, CEO Brian Woods, as you can see, the bald guy on the right, would announce the league was coming back in 2015. He had assured everybody that the 2014 season, even though the championship game kind of didn't work, meaning it never happened, just like another league, was actually a success, and they had fully come back. But Omaha had dropped out over the summer, citing the travel costs and the attendances. They were the only team in the Midwest, and they were far in the Midwest. Everybody played on the East Coast, and Florida obviously traveled to them. It just didn't make sense, and the attendance numbers were awful. So they didn't come back. So, who took over the spot for Omaha? The team that would take over Omaha's spot was the Hudson Valley Fort. As you can see, they were founded in 2015. They played at Dutchess Stadium, home of the Hudson Valley Renegades. Again, another team from the New York Penn League. Instead, they were a replacement for the Mammoth. There was only one game there. And allegedly, the attendance numbers was 1776. But after 2 games, the league deemed the field unsafe and canceled the final game. So they had to either cancel the game or actually play away. Just a few days before the 2015 season, the Brawlers, who had been moved to actually Mahoning Valley and were going to be the Mahoning Valley Brawlers, had informed by the league that there wasn't enough money to operate the 4 teams. So, who played in the final season? I'm sorry, did I spoil it for you? It was both Brooklyn and Florida back from the previous season. They had added the 3rd team, as you saw, the Hudson Valley Fort. But just like the previous season, the final 2 games were canceled. The 4-1 Brooklyn Bolts were once again unceremoniously deemed the FXFL champions. As 2016 rolled around, the writing were on the wall. As of September of 2016, the league was officially dead. From its ashes arose its successor. Developmental football was not dead. CEO of the FXFL, Brian Woods, would take lessons he learned from the FXFL failure and create what is known today as the Spring League. You might have actually heard about the Spring League. The Spring League is made up of 4 teams who are centrally located and is used to showcase undrafted, cut, or guys just looking for a second shot to get into the NFL and CFL. And now, as you can see in the picture, with the partnership with the XFL, get those guys playing professional football. Heck, they even tested some rules that the XFL is actually going to be using in its inaugural season. Second season. As of 2019, after 2 seasons, 33 players from the Spring League have been signed to play professional football. So, developmental football is not dead. And with the XFL starting up, I think we could be seeing something good. So, you tell me, was the FXFL doomed from the get-go? I hope you guys learned a little bit about how we've gotten to this point with certain leagues. Like, comment, subscribe, do the normal YouTube thing. I will catch you guys later.